Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. Today I wanted to share a good Dharma school story. The past couple of months, I've been able to visit some of the Dharma school classes after the morning service. Each month, during the first and third Sundays, the schedule is full with the 9:30 Dharma school service, then the 10:30 Ask Reverend Dennis session across the hallway. Then after that, we have either the Shotsuki service or the adult service at 11:30. But on the second and fourth Sundays, it's not quite so busy. On those Sundays, the Dharma school teachers have invited me to visit their classrooms, and we have a schedule where I can stop in on one or two of the classrooms on those weekends. So last weekend, I was supposed to visit the 7th and 8th grade class and then the 1st grade class. So it's nice to have the class that I visited here, sitting right in the front row. I got my instructions on how to get the classes a little bit mixed up, but finally I was able to get to the right classroom. We had a nice visit with the 7th and 8th grade. They had questions to share and to talk about, different kind of topics that they brought up during their class. And then I want to get back to this story about their visit, but I want to share what happened next. I was supposed to visit the 1st grade class, and I thought I remembered that it was upstairs. But then I thought I was told it was a classroom before the stairs. So I went back downstairs and I peeked into a classroom before the stairs, and it was a kindergarten class, not the 1st grade class, but I didn't know it. I thought I was in the right room because there were a bunch of little people in the room, okay? So I went in and I observed, where's the kindergarten class today? Kindergartners, anybody here? There's a few, yeah, okay, I was in your class last weekend, right? So the students and the teachers were really busy working on their part of the Charlie Brown Hanamatsuri play. It was really detailed and specific and organized, and I just wanted to stay out of the way. It was great. The teachers had everything under the control. The students were listening, working really hard, but I wasn't even in the right room. Later, I'm asked by Valerie, "Sensei, you're scheduled to come to the 1st grade class, but you didn't show up. The students are waiting for you. Every time there's a noise at the door, they look to the door, expecting you to come in." I'm thinking, wait, wasn't I there? Slowly, the veil lifts. I was in the wrong classroom. Oh my goodness, or words to that effect. So, to the 1st grade class, where are the 1st graders today? 1st graders, I see a few hands. Okay, I'm so sorry that I missed our appointment. I'll come another time, and it's already scheduled, and I look forward to our visit that day. And the kindergarten class, you guys already raised your hands. Thank you for letting me visit your classroom and for not chasing me out the door. I really enjoyed my visit, and now even more, I look forward to your part in the Charlie Brown play. There's more to this Dharma School's visit story, but let us get started with the rest of this Dharma message. Today I have a quote from Genshin, one of the 7 masters of Shin Buddhism. Please join me in Gassho. The Buddha's regard for each sentient being with eyes of compassion is equal, as though each one were his only child. Hence, I take refuge in and worship the unsurpassed mother of great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you. In this quote, Genshin is pointing out that the Buddha's compassion is the same for every single person, every sentient being, as if each were his only child. Because the compassion is equal for all, Genshin takes refuge in and bows to the Buddha's compassion. The Mahayana Buddhist life is not only to reach enlightenment, but to assist all others. It's for every sentient being, to reach enlightenment. Everyone. What this means is that enlightenment alone is empty. Enlightenment together with others is what we look to. In our classrooms, we study together, work together, learn together. The wisdom of individual enlightenment is limited because many are still suffering. Therefore, the compassion for all beings completes the wisdom of enlightenment. This idea is the basis of why the Sangha in Shin Buddhism is emphasized. By living life with each other, looking out for one another, we find the natural mix, the recipe of self and other, of wisdom and compassion. The book, Unknown, is a collection of sermons by the Southern District ministers. This was dedicated to the Shinran Shonin 750th memorial. In it, Reverend Lee Rosenthal of the Pasadena Buddhist Church wrote a sermon entitled, "For My Sake Alone." And he was writing a story about his good friend, who was also a Nembutsu follower of Shin Buddhism. He wrote, "A dear friend of mine had the opportunity to return home to England during a vacation. On a cloud-free day, they had decided to spend some time enjoying a nearby beach. While lying on the sand atop her comfortable beach towel, my friend had noticed from her position on the shore how the reflection of the sun on the water seemed to be sending a bright streak of light along the surface of the ocean, directly to her location on the beach. She remarked, saying, 'Namanda, Namanda.'" So, wow, look at this. Nembutsu punctuating her words, how this event caused her to be mindful of Amida's embrace for her sake alone. So she's noticing this sun beaming right at her. Have you ever had that experience? Sometimes you're out fishing or just looking out on the water of a lake or the ocean, and it seems like a ray of sunlight is directed right at you and only you. So when she experienced this, she thought, wow, a ray of sunlight pointing right at me. How special, how touching. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. But then she looked up and down the beach, both ways, and she noticed that according to each person, individual position on the sand, there was a special ray of sunlight directed specifically at each of them. Everyone is getting their own special ray of sunlight. So now she's noticing this. Each person was being singled out and touched by the sun with their own personal ray of light. So all the more, now she had tears in her eyes, Nembutsu on her lips. My dear friend in Dharma expressed her great joy that Amida's vow was also reaching forth to everyone. Every person on that beach had their own special ray of sunlight, which was directed to them from the brightness of the sun itself. We have each felt this and seen this sunlight, whether on the beaches of the Oregon coast, or Southern California, or Hawaii, or casting a line into the reservoir or a lake somewhere. The sunlight is just one example of all the countless conditions that make up our lives at any moment. Too many conditions to even comprehend. The countless conditions are what we consider to be the compassion of the Buddha. Compassion received in endless and infinite ways. Not only human compassion from one to another, but endless compassion, endless conditions from water, air, the seasons, the sun, and so much more. Wow. So back to last Sunday, before I was lost in our maze of classrooms here, and before the service and Dharma message from Sensei Calvin, I was home getting ready to come to the temple. So one Sunday ago, before all this started, I was at home. Television was on with short 3-5-minute segments on different topics, jumping around different topics of interest. and one of them caught my attention, and I shared it briefly when I visited the 7th grade class. They showed a high school in Boca Raton, Florida. It was an interview with some of the students. Dennis Esteban was a senior at their high school, a black kid from Haiti. He was upbeat, popular, and friendly, but he was recalling when he first came to this country as a first grader. He didn't know anybody, just a new kid, and when he went to school, especially at lunchtime, he would feel so alone. The others had friends to eat and sit with. They would tell stories and share their food. He wanted to sit with friends and share and visit too. He would watch the others as he sat by himself, and he would remember how he felt. They interviewed another student, Ali Seeley. She seemed proud, strong, sparkling eyes. She had lots of friends at her other school, but the family had moved, and lunchtime seemed like the longest hour each day. During the interview, tears welled up in her eyes, came rolling down her cheeks as she thought about sitting alone day after day, each lunch hour. She felt so alone. These kids and others decided to start a club, calling it We Dine Together. Just like last week's Venture Crew announcement of corned beef hash. This group would call and respond, We dine together, we dine together. They would meet before lunch and encourage and exhort each other to go out, look for people sitting alone. Just say hi, introduce yourselves, ask their names. Just initiate some kindness. Just help each other feel accepted and that they belong. Friendships you would never imagine started to take place. The story was uplifting, just a small window on the world on a Sunday morning. We could all learn from their example. By being a part of the Sangha, we're not necessarily best friends or buddies, but what we share is a recognition of the Buddha that surrounds us and the Dharma that points to this. By supporting the temple, the Dharma becomes available to each of us like the ray of sunlight just for me. The light of the Buddha is everywhere, but sometimes my room gets dark. The temple helps us to get through the darkness and back to the sunlight. The high school kids decided to look out for each other, and the 3 treasures emerged from their stories of friendship. The friends are all of us, members of the Sangha, who are connected by the teachings of the Dharma that awaken us to the Buddha, that is all around us, regardless of the particular circumstances of each moment. We are awakened to the Buddha by the sunlight, like in Reverend Rosenthal's story, meant for me alone. We are awakened to the Buddha by a friendly voice or an act of kindness or support. The awakening sunlight comes to each of us equally, like the compassion for an only child in Genshin's quote. Next week will be our Hanamatsuri service, when Koichi Sensei will be our special speaker. We will pour sweet tea over the baby Buddha to celebrate his birth, and then it will be time for our annual Hanamatsuri play with a cast of thousands. Please tell your friends, remind your parents, remind each other to be here. Please join me in Gassho. The Buddha's regard for each sentient being with eyes of compassion is equal, as though each one were his only child. Hence I take refuge in and worship the unsurpassed Mother of great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namanda. Thank you.